when it comes to the idea of COTI maybe going to the price of $1 during this bull run, does it seem that bad? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, it wouldn't seem bad to me, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. But, if we've seen, some of my previous videos, I know I can't say everyone has, but I'm just saying, like, if someone has, they'll know that previously I was talking about the idea of COTI at the price of $5. But when I was making those type of videos, a lot of people kept saying, okay, they kept saying, you should talk about a different price target. Let's say talk about $1. I'll do that. Even though I don't see why maybe COTI could do better, but you know what? If people want to, have me talk about the idea of $1, I'll do that and take a look at maybe this scenario because I don't see why this is too crazy. First of all, if it were to go to the price of $1, market cap at that point would be around $2 billion considering current circulating supply. I don't think it's really something that's even too tough to achieve, maybe because, even something like Dogecoin back in 2021 reached over $80 billion in market cap, and that was years ago. Now, I get it. The market as of right now isn't necessarily doing the best, and people are like, oh man, this is done and all this type of stuff, but I'm still optimistic for the future. However, only time will tell. There's no exact way to tell the future. But keep in mind, $1 is around a 17x from here. Some people may think, oh, that's a little bit not good and all this type of stuff. But personally, for me, anything over a 10x, really, I don't see why I would complain about that. Not to mention as well, when I take a look at COTI, I think it's one of the best layer 2s out there when it comes to Ethereum, arguably, even though it may not have the adoption or the amount of fans or the amount of hype kind of like showcasing that, hey, it's one of the best layer 2s. It doesn't really showcase that in that sense. But in terms of fundamentals, I think it's really amazing because we see a lot of Ethereum layer 2s out there, as of right now. But many of them, they just kind of feel like, okay, it's just another layer 2. It's basically trying to do the same thing because let's take a look at what is a layer 2 trying to do basically when it comes to Ethereum. It's quite essentially aiming for Ethereum to be enjoyed while at the same time not necessarily having to deal with the drawbacks, like for instance, the fees, which are, very, I think, not acceptable. And also on top of that, the scalability issues. So basically, again, Ethereum, kind of needs a layer 2 because it's basically kind of like allowing it for it to be enjoyed, but then not dealing with the drawbacks. COTI is that in a sense, of course, because it is an Ethereum layer 2, but then it's a privacy-focused Ethereum layer 2. So that's the unique thing it has right there. That's the differentiating factor because I think they understand that, we could be a layer 2, but then we need to be different. And we got to understand this. When I was first talking about COTI, this wasn't COTI's focus, I think if some people do remember, initially COTI was focused on the payments market. But then eventually it did become a privacy-focused Ethereum layer 2. It kind of like, changed the whole project, objective, I would say. Which I don't think is bad, by the way, because we have to take a look at the Ethereum ETF, the amount of fans Ethereum has, and also on top of that, we have to take a look at how it's pretty much the go-to layer 1 blockchain, not only for many of the retail market, right, but also for a lot of developers, because Ethereum, again, is just pretty much many people's go-to layer 1 blockchain. So it kind of has that solidified place already. So when it comes to COTI, I think it's a smart move. Other projects out there, they wouldn't have done that. They would have just been like, yeah, we're focused on payments. That's it. We're not going to, change. But then COTI, they did change. And I think so far it's actually a good move, in my opinion, fundamentally. Now, the price may not really showcase that in a sense, right? But then keep in mind, a lot of altcoins not too long ago had a very major pullback. Some had a pretty good recovery, but as of right now, the market isn't doing the best. We're seeing many of them go down. However, in my opinion, it doesn't tell the true story when it comes to COTI's fundamentals. And the price, of course, because it is the price. But then when it comes to the fundamentals, it's not like it randomly became worse or something like that, because I think fundamentally it's actually very amazing. Now, only time will tell, because altcoins usually, as a worst case scenario, they do typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. Is that a guarantee? No, because each cycle, it's going to be different. The sentiment and all that type of stuff is, of course, going to be different from each cycle. And many people out there are saying, oh, the altcoin rally should have already happened and all this type of stuff. Well, again, each cycle is going to be different. And that example that I used before when it comes to the timeline, that's just more so of like a broad, generalization of what we saw historically speaking, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be correct this time around. Only time will tell. But whether or not it happens in October, next year, in January, whatever the case may be, there is one thing that I'm still going to continue to do. And that is just believe in the projects that I believe in, dollar cost average, hold, and I just wait, because literally that's the only thing I can control. Sure, I could pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles, but that doesn't mean anything because, in my opinion, if I draw something on a price chart, is the market going to listen to what I have to do? No. Also, on top of that, if I'm just taking a look at the price chart, I would think that COTI is a bad project because how can I take a look at the fundamentals of something just based off the price chart? So then, when I take a look at COTI, and I see the fundamentals, I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to believe in this. And I'm not saying I'm going to be correct because who knows? I can't tell the future. But then what I can do is just believe in the projects which I think are good. And maybe we'll see what happens moving forward, whether or not they do good or whether or not they do bad. We'll have to wait and see. But again, the idea of just $1, because I just kind of feel like, you know what? That doesn't even seem too unrealistic to me, even though only time will tell. I can't tell the future, but that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Bye.